All right. Can I kindly request everyone to say sadhu, please?
Sadhu, sadhu,
Sadhu,
sadhu.
sadhu, sadhu.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Katang bhavitani cha kundaliya tini sucharitani katang bahuli katani chattaro satipattane paripurenti. Ida kundaliya bhikkhu kaya duccharitang pahaya pati kaya sucharitang bhaveti. Vachi duccharitang pahaya vachi sucharitang bhaveti. Mano duccharitang pahaya mano sucharitang bhaveti. Evam bhavitani ko kundaliya tini sucharitani evam bahuli katani chattaro satipattane paripurenti. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Dear friends in the Dhamma, today is 12th of November 2024. We are again going to start another discussion session on this weekly Tuesday session. And this particular verse, as you all remember, we have picked up from a discourse that is appearing in the connected discourses. And the name of the sutta is Kundaliya Sutta. And the background of that is a wanderer called Kundaliya met the Blessed One and then asked him why he is wearing robes and living this ascetic life. Then the Blessed One says, I am living this life for the benefit and fruit of true knowledge and liberation. And that was a shocking answer for Kundaliya, because all this time he has heard was some argument, and winning the argument is what we should do, and they have a sort of set of views, and they produce reasons to justify that view. And if you win after justifying the view, then that is what has to happen by being an ascetic. But with the Buddha's answer, he was shocked. And then it was something that he had never heard. So he immediately asked, what thing have I got to do to develop and cultivate a so-called fruit and the benefit from the true knowledge and the liberation? Then the Blessed One says, you will have to develop 7 factors of enlightenment. Then again, he is asking to develop 7 factors of enlightenment. What things have I got to do? Then he is saying, you will have to abide by or establish 4 foundations of mindfulness. Then he is asking, what things will develop and cultivate 4 factors of mindfulness, rather 4 foundations of mindfulness. Then Blessed One says 3 kinds of good conduct. And then he's asking what things to be developed and cultivated to fulfill 3 kinds of good conduct. Then the Blessed One says restraint of the sense faculties. And then after saying the restraint of sense faculties, Blessed One is not allowing him to talk anymore. Blessed One keeps talking. He says, all this time you have been asking what things to be developed and cultivated. So I have told all that. Now I am going to tell you how you do it. You can't just do it for the sake of doing. And also to cultivate and develop, you don't know how to cultivate and develop. Just knowing that this is what has to be done doesn't make any sense. But unless you really do it the way that should be done, Then the Blessed One says, this is how restrainment of sense faculties has to happen. And he says, whenever our sense faculties meet with an external sense object, such as for the eye object, some shape or some color is the eye object. When that happens, you may form an agreeable mind, or you may form a disagreeable mind. When you form a agreeable mind, if you long for it, if you become excited by it, and if you generate lust for it, then there is no restraint of sense faculties. And similarly, when it is disagreeable, if you are not dismayed, if you are not daunted, if you are not dejected, if you are without ill will, then you have restrained sense faculties. But if you don't have those things, then you don't have restrained sense faculties. So what the Buddha says is, when in that manner you have restrained sense faculties, what it simply does is that you will have a steady mind and you will have a steady body, and therefore you inwardly you will be composed and you will be liberated, because there are things that are agreeable, there are things that are disagreeable. So far as our external connections with the external world is concerned, we are not affected by them. We are not affected because we are at guard of our sense faculties. So we are, to some extent, if I may use the word, mindful of the operations of the sense faculties. So when we are mindful, when we are not carried away, when we act with the external world, then we are bodily steady and mentally steady. So we are inwardly serene. We are, to some extent, so far as the sense faculties are concerned, we are liberated from sense faculties. So when that happens, cultivation and development of the sense restraint leads to these three kinds of good conduct. Now he's giving the link. When sense faculties are restrained in this manner, your misconducts gets abandoned gradually in a systematic way, and the good conduct will get established. So you bodily misconducts will get abandoned. You will have bodily good conducts, and similarly verbal misconduct will be at bay, and the good verbal conduct will start developing. And both this will happen because you are mentally prepared to observe your sense faculties. So therefore, even mentally, now you have some preparation. And because of that mental preparation, which I call observation, which I call choiceless observation, because of that, mental misconducts get abandoned, and you start gradually developing good mental conduct. So therefore, you go from the what you call moral base or the virtuous base, you are going to the base of the mind, or you go from the transgressional defilements to the obsessional defilements. So when you restrain your physical and verbal deeds, that there you are guarding only your transgressional defilements, precepts basically. But when you go to the mental layer, when your mental misconducts are abandoned and good mental conducts are established, then you are gradually touching the so-called obsessional layer, which we know as the hindrances. Hindrances are you don't indulge in sense faculties, but you have sense desire. You don't kill, and you don't use harsh words, but still you have ill will within. And if since you are more alert about those things, you are not energized. You are usually energized by the sense desire and the ill will. So when these things are getting gradually checked, when these things are getting gradually petroled, what happens is sleepiness will sets in, lethargy will sets in. And when lethargy sets in, you may have over time, if you attack, if I may use the word, or if you become, when you become mindful of the lethargy situation or the sleepiness, then you will be more awake. So when you are more awake, you will be agitated to see what happens next. Or as a result, you will be losing the present moment. So therefore, the next hindrance that will come up is the excitement and worry. Excitement about the future and the worry about the past. And if you go beyond that, then you will have skeptical doubts, which means you will start thinking whether what I am doing is useful, whether this is a real path, and all this nonsense are going on. What is happening here? So in that manner, when your mental misconducts are getting abundant, what happens is these are the mental misconducts, the hindrances. So when you are mindful, you will be able to observe these things. So when you observe these things, mental misconducts, what you simply do is you don't react to them. Since you don't react to them, you are developing a skill that you have never had before, which is the observation. What you have done in the past from the habit of our mind is to react to things. So whenever there is sense desire, if you don't want to have sense desire, you will have some sort of a technique, meditation technique to get rid of that. Now what you do is you don't get rid of that. The mental good conduct is just observe the sense desire, observe the ill will, observe the sloth and torpor, observe the excitement and worry, observe the skeptical doubts. So this observation quality is the real mental good conduct. So when that happens, gradually, what you will have to do is you will have to be very alert about your bodily activities. You will have to be very alert about the sensations arising from the body, because the mind gets activated with the sensation, or the mind activates sensation. So either way it will work. And all these things are happening in the form of thoughts. So therefore, you will have to be very alert about these three doors. What is happening in the body, what is happening in the feelings layer, what is happening in the mental layer. So that alertness, that observation generally push you to the four foundations of mindfulness. So when you are alert about the body, and the Blessed One has mentioned that your alertness will naturally go to the breath initially. And in some canon, especially the Chinese canon, they say first they don't take the breath. First, they take the postures, four cardinal postures. That is how you become aware of the bodily actions. So anyway, irrespective of what comes first, both these are there in both the canons. So if we take the attention to the breath, so that gives you very, very strong weapon to have your attention to the body, because the breath is so fundamental to the existence of the body. So when your attention is with the body, you are basically monitoring and managing self supervision system is built through the breath for the entire bodily activity. So therefore, one who is having the attention to the breath, through which has the attention to the entire body, and through which you will be able to go beyond the perceptions of the body, and which we have discussed in the previous session. Initially, you will feel long breath, short breath, etc. And then you will start seeing the breath that becomes shorter will become very subtle. When it becomes subtle, you will start feeling more and more of your body. And then ultimately it will come to a point that you don't feel a body anymore. You will have some perception that the breath is taking place, but you may not feel body anymore because the breath becomes so subtle, and your attention is also at the same time subtle and sharp, and you have the ability to observe things that is not very gross as well. So therefore, gradually you become disciplined in observing things when they don't really have a gross materialistic nature. We are able to observe things when they have the material characteristics. So now, even when the material characteristics is not there, you are able to observe. So this is one of the finest stage that you will come while observing the breath. And then the Blessed One says, although you can come to such fine stages, you can't, this is not a way of living. And you should be able to apply this skill when you live on a day-to-day basis. And then he's introducing the 4 cardinal postures, and he says, why don't you try to keep your mindfulness to the body while you are walking? Of course, that is the one that which we practice first. And it has other benefits as well, which we have discussed already. So I'm not going to go into detail. So that prepares, bringing the attention to the 4 cardinal postures, gives us the bridge between the deepened or skilled attention to a diluted attention. Or let me put it this way, this 4 cardinal postures becomes the bridge between the sitting and observing and doing and observing. When you sit and observe the breath, you don't do anything, but simply observe. And that skill you can now apply when you do things, but it is not as ideal as it should be. But you have the skill now. You have a very strong skill. With that very strong skill, you can let other things happen and you can observe. So therefore, he is asking the practitioners to observe the 4 cardinal postures. And once the 4 cardinal postures are observed, he says, now go a bit more further and see whether you are able to observe anything else other than the 4 cardinal postures. Because when we behave, we have a lot of semi-postures. From between sitting and standing, there are a lot of semi-postures. So you can be mindful of that. When you walk, there are a lot of semi-postures. Lifting, moving, lowering down, placing, and then pressing. There are a lot of activities. So you can be mindful of all that. And that is what we do when we practice. And to see whether you go into those minute details, we ask for a report. So when you ask for a report, then you are giving more and more things that you observe. So that means you are dwelling more and more into the body. So similarly, while sleeping, while sitting, you can observe your posture. Other than the 4 cardinal postures, he is introducing it to while eating, while drinking, while talking, while wearing your robes, while holding the ball, and then when you urinate, defecate, and in any way that you hold your body, you have your attention to the body. So therefore, that skill that you get from observing the natural in-breath and out-breath can be applied to other activities as well. So therefore, mindfulness becomes a way of living. So once it becomes a way of living, your mindfulness is considered continuing, and mindfulness has evolved. Mindfulness has got diversified. So it is not just sitting, it is not just walking, and you are able to apply that to a wider spectrum. So in that manner, when that spreads in that manner, we call it not just mindfulness. This is where you have the beginning of the continuing mindfulness. In other words, we call it full awareness, or the most commonly used term is the clear comprehension, right? So you are more and more clearly comprehending what is happening in any given action, in any given posture, in any given observation, right? So when this happens, then the Buddha is giving few other techniques to observe the body. And the next technique is the contemplation of the repulsiveness of the body. So before going on to the contemplation of the repulsiveness of the body, I would like to take the one before that, and that is the contemplation of the four elements. So when you thin slice your body with your so-called clear comprehending mind, when you thin slice it, what happens is your attention is now always in the body. So when the attention is always in the body, to most of the time when you are practicing, or sometimes maybe most of the time when you are doing some activity, what happens is you may feel that the body is heavy. You may feel the body is light. You may feel that the body is warmer. You may feel that the body is more cooler. You may feel that the body is swaying. You may feel that the body is very steady. You may feel the body is just slithering down. Or you may feel that the body is getting more and more quenched, more and more squeezed, right? So these are the natures of the physics. Our body is made of mass, and this has the four basic elements. So when you bring your attention to each and everything, from the breath to the four cardinal postures, and from the four cardinal postures, more other activities, and the semi postures in the cardinal postures, etc., what you do is simply you're going deeper and deeper and deeper into the body. When you go deeper and deeper into the body and become a neutral observer, instead of observing these activities as such, your attention will gather, your attention will pick these fundamental natures of the body. So when you see these fundamental natures of the body, the Buddha says, a monk reveals this body, however it may be placed in this pose in terms of elements. And these are the earth element, this is the water element, this is the fire element, this is the air element. So when you feel that your body is very stiff and strong, and you feel that it is very heavy, you know that it is the earth element. And when you feel the body is very light, and that is the again earth element. So the earth element is having both the characteristics. It has the heaviness as well as it has the lightness, and also it has the roughness and the softness. That is also an element or nature of the earth element. So in any way, when you bring your attention in this manner to the body, when you feel those things, not necessary to say that you feel earth element. Now you know this is what happens. So the word that is used here is revives his body. There is nothing to revive, and you are experiencing it. So this is why I wanted to take this before the contemplation. So here is an experience, and I'm sure most of you have experienced those things. And some of you, when you sit and practice, you may feel trembling, you may feel swaying, you may feel rotating. And when that happens, what is in action is the air element. So what air elements does is it moves things. And for some people, they don't feel it is moved. They feel that they are frozen. So when they feel that they are frozen, that they can't do anything, so what it does, that is also part of the air element. What the air element does is hold things very tightly. Now this entire mass of earth, the water body as well as the earth, land body, is held on air. So therefore, when you feel that you're frozen and you are unable to move, which means the earth element is active in a different way. So on one hand, the earth element moves you, and on the other hand, earth element holds you. So either way you can feel it. There is nothing good or bad in any of the things that you feel. And when that happens, if you don't get alarmed, if you don't get shocked, and if you don't start questioning what is happening, and if you simply maintain your choiceless awareness, if you don't forget that, and you simply become aware of it. Yes, my body is frozen. I'm just observing the frozen body. And then after some time, it may start gradually moving. Then you start that. So when that happens, what you simply observe is your attention has gone to these elements, and you just become aware of this drama that is played by the elements. So similarly, water element, when water element is in action, what happens is lot of people, when they are practicing, their head falls down, and they have forgotten all their back pains and this pains and that pain, and the head is completely on the tummy, or head is completely on the lap, or sometimes some people I have seen, head is completely on the floor, and they have backaches as well when they are doing other things. But when the practice is happening, when that is happening, they don't feel any back pain. So that is because you will have back pain and this pain and that pain when the person called I is there. When it comes to elements, there is no you. You don't hold anything as you. So that is why you are able to go to these element layers. So the going into element layers and manifestation of the element layers is way that you progress, is a way that you depreciate the ego, and you don't do it purposely, and it naturally happens if you simply keep on observing. And even when you come here to the element layer, you simply observe that without trying to give title or without trying to signpost. When these things are happening, there are no signposts to tell you that it is earth element, that this is water element, that this is air element, that this is that element, that this element. No, these things are naturally happening. So when you write your reports, and from what you write, then the teacher knows that this is how the practice is going on, and this particular practitioner is going beyond, or he has come to this, and he is now gradually trying to go beyond that layer as well. So in that manner, you may feel the natures of the elements. So you don't see, when you say earth element, you don't see some dust in your body. When you see fire element, you don't see some fire coming out of your body. When you say air element, you don't see that air is coming out of the body. You feel their nature, and that those natures are the opposite natures, polar apart. but it's on the same, it's in the same place. And something that was very cold, when you keep observing, it becomes warm. Something that becomes very warm, if you keep observing that warm body, it becomes cooler. And any stiff body, if you keep observing, they may start gradually moving. So in that manner, you will be able to observe the, the elements at work. And he gives a simile for this. When these things happen, when you are observing elements in this manner, you forget the fact that your head is there. You forget the fact that your hands and legs and the body is there. You don't talk about those things. You simply say, I feel cold. I feel my body is warm. So you don't specify any element, any organ as such, right? So if you still say an organ, if you say my body, my hands are cold, if you say my legs are stiff, which means still you are identifying that stiffness to the leg, right? So when you keep on practicing, you may go beyond the identification of the organs of the body. You may feel, I feel stiff, and there is no hand or leg or tummy or anything. So when that happens, it is just the elements. And the simile that the Blessed One is using to explain this situation is this. He says, a skilled butcher. It's not a good simile, some people might think, but this is the words of the Omniscient One. So we have no right to question, because he has selected the best one for us. And all his assistants, having slaughtered a were to sit, slaughtered a cow, were to sit at a crossroad with the carcass divided into portions. So a monk observes the very body in terms of elements. There are this body, earth element, water element, fire element, etc. Because when a butcher is slaughtering a cow, and he's not selling a cow. Now what he is selling is meat. He will say, this is meat, this is liver, this is brain, these are the intestine. So those are, all these are things, these are sold. And he's not saying there is a cow here. So in the same manner, when we go to elements, we don't say my leg, we don't say my body, we don't say my hand. We simply say, I feel coldness, I feel stiffness, I feel heaviness. So that's the nature. So you have gone beyond the identification of the cow. You have gone to the next layer of the physical existence. So that is the simile that the Blessed One has given. So this is also why I took that before repulsiveness of the body, is because it is something experientiable to a practitioner. But the next one, this contemplation of repulsiveness of the body, is a contemplation. It may be for some people an experience, but what the word the Blessed One uses is a contemplation of the repulsiveness. A monk contemplates this very body, from the soles to the feet upwards, from the scalp downwards, enclosed by the skin, and full of manifold impurities. So he's thinking, he's reviewing his body from the top of his head to the tip of the toes, which is covered by the skin. He thinks everything that is in this body are impurities only. This is not an experience. You can't see go inside and see these things. For some things you may be able to see, but not everything. So he says the contemplation goes on like this. In this body, there are head hairs, body hairs, nails, teeth, skin, flesh, sinews, bones, bone marrow, kidneys, heart, liver, pleura, spleen, lungs, mesentery, bowel, stomach, excrement, bile, phlegm, pus, blood, sweat, fat, tears, tallow, saliva, snot, synovic fluid, urine. So they have given 31 or 32 impurities that we hold in our body. So we are holding all these things in our body. If any of this is taken out, then you will see you will not eat for 2 days. It's so ugly, so smelly, so not easy to see. So therefore, the Blessed One called impurities. Although we are holding it in the body, and if you take it out and give it to somebody, keep it with you, and you will immediately you will dig a pit and put it in the pit and cover it up. You don't want to keep it. And when you remove your tooth, my teacher used to say, if you remove the tooth and the doctor shows it to you, and if he's asking you to take it once again and keep it in the same place, you will not do it. Because once it is there, and when it is one unit, we think it is so cool and such a marvelous thing. But if you separate anything from there, then it is yucky only. You will see how bad and how foul it is. So the Blessed One says, monk can be mindful of the body by contemplating this as well. So this is a contemplation technique. It is not an observation technique. Just bear that in mind. And it's different. You can bring your attention to the body while contemplating in this manner. But observation is not something like that. It is something that you directly experience. But these things you can't directly experience. Of course, you can experience your hair. You can experience your head hair, body hair, nails, teeth, skin, etc. And when it goes to flesh, when it goes to sinews, when it goes to bones, bone marrow, kidneys, we can just imagine about them. We can just think about them. And we can't really experience. So therefore, these are contemplation techniques to bring the attention to the body. And there is a difference between this contemplation and if you are doing the body scanning, it is different. In the body scan, what we do is we simply scan the body from outward. That's all. We just try to bring our attention to the body if you are doing body scanning. And if you don't do body scanning, if you straight away take your attention to the breath, then it is not applicable here. So therefore, some people get confused that the body scanning is contemplation of the repulsiveness of the body, and it is not. And even here, the Blessed One has given a simile. The simile, he says, just as if there were a bag open at the ends, both top and bottom, full of various kinds of grain, such as hill rice, paddy, green kidney beans, sesame, husk rice, and a man with good eyesight were to open the bag and examine them, saying, this is hill rice, this is paddy, this is green gram, these are kidney beans, this is sesame, this is husk rice. So too, monk reviews the very body. In the same way, there are head hairs, body hairs, etc., up to urine. So in that manner, when you keep contemplating, my body has these things, then naturally your attention will come out of the external objects, going outside, going to sounds, going to sights, going to thoughts, your attention will come to the body. So it's another technique that the Blessed One is giving under the observation of the body, or observing the body as body. And then there is another contemplation technique. It is not just one, there are 9 other contemplation techniques that the Blessed One is giving. And this is even a bit more revolutionary. And this is even a bit more radical than the foulness of the body. A lot of people don't like the foulness of the body because they think it is negative. And there is nothing negative, knowing that we have these impurities in the body. And no, rejecting that we have impurities in the body is the negativity. The Blessed One is trying to bring our attention to the dirtiness of our body, so that you can positively think. There is nothing to overdo things for this body. We are doing so much overdoing to our body, assuming we have gold and platinum, gems, etc. in the body. There is nothing as such. All what you have is things that you will be thrown to dogs if they come out. So, therefore, it is a positive view. If you see that the things inside our body, things inside our skin are foul. Anyway, that is not to cry. That is just to understand. You don't cry, there is nothing good in my body, and just keep weeping the whole day. Or there is nothing good in my body. There is no point, dressing well. There is no point washing this. There is no point having a house. There is no point eating. People will think like that. When that happens, it is not understanding. That is the hatred towards the body. What the Blessed One says is, you don't hate the body in that manner. Instead, you can accept the reality. Accepting the reality. Now we do is we don't accept the reality. We are doing, we have so much of things to overdo, so much of what you call soap. We have so much of perfume. We have all sorts of clothes to, we do so much of surgeries to show things big, show things more revealing, thinking we have all valuable things inside. So when we understand that there is nothing valuable here, we simply accept the nature and then do only the bare minimum to keep this body running without a problem to the society and to the person, him or herself. And that comes when you know that there is nothing to overlook after, right? But what happens in the society is completely the other way, and they have made businesses out of it. And when it is changing with the old age, they are bringing out all sorts of vitamins, all sorts of creams, all sorts of techniques, all sorts of exercises to keep you well and healthy. And nobody will be able to change the nature. So anyway, going back to the other contemplation techniques that the Blessed One has given, that is more radical, as I said. It is going beyond the repulsiveness of the body, and it is going to the observation of the dead body. And during Buddha's time, the monks used to go to the charnel ground. Charnel ground means the cemetery. And those days, bodies were not either buried or cremated. They just simply throw them to the charnel ground. And then what the monks do is they go there and select different decaying stages of the body and then compare that decaying body with his or her own body and contemplate that my body is not beyond that decaying body, and that my body will also get decayed someday like this. So nowadays, in the name of culture, in the name of civilization, in the name of advancement of the knowledge and the science, we unfortunately don't have the opportunity to see what happens to a body once it is dead. Very rarely we have that opportunity. But during Buddha's time, there were ample opportunities. You can go to a charnel ground, and people have been doing it. So he has given such 9 stages. I will just read those 9 stages for your knowledge. And these are contemplation, mind you. These are not, again, observable experiences, right? So what it says is, monks, as if a monk sees a body dead, 1, 2, or 3 days old, swollen, blue, festering, thrown into the charnel ground. He then applies this perception to his own body. Thus, verily, also my own body is of the same nature, such it will become and will not escape it. So he just sees that and contemplate that my body is also having the same nature. Similarly, thus he lives contemplating the body in the body. And then the next stage, the Blessed One says, is doing a similar comparison with a bit more decayed body. And in that body, he says, monk sees a body thrown in the charnel ground, being eaten by crows, hawks, vultures, dogs, jackals, or by different kinds of worms, and then applies this perception to his own body. Thus, verily, also my own body is of the same nature, such it will become and will not escape it. So anyone's body, it may be a beggar on the road, it may be a king of the world. There is no difference. Whether you are the prince or whether you are the king, whether you are the president, whether you are the prime minister, the nature is nature. And what Buddha simply says is, just simply accept that. When you accept that, you will not go into this mess in the world. But now it is completely different. They don't see these realities of the life, and their attention is always outside. But the Buddha says, you go and contemplate and compare and contemplate. Thus, you will be more and more attentive to your body. So he's giving another one. Monk, as if a monk sees a body thrown into charnel ground and reduced to skeleton with some flesh and blood attached to it, held together by tendons. So animals have eaten all flesh and all the particles of the body. Now it is reduced to a skeleton and has some flesh here and there and blood here and there, but together held, just the skeleton with the tendons. And he just contemplates my body is also one day going into the same stage. And of course, one may argue, if it is cremated, this will not happen. Yes, it will not happen, but it will turn into ash. And that is the last one in this list. And in the next one, he says, and further monks, as if a monk sees a body thrown in the charnel ground and reduced to skeleton, blood besmeared and without flesh, held together by tendons. So now it does not have blood, it does not have flesh, but just the skeleton with the tendons, and contemplates my body after so many months, so many weeks. My body also if thrown in the charnel ground, will fall into this nature. And further, another stage, a monk sees a body thrown in the charnel ground and reduced to the skeleton without flesh and blood, held together by tendons. And that's the same thing I mentioned earlier. Further, monks, as if a monk sees a body thrown in the charnel ground and reduced to the disconnected bones. Now, bones are not held together, scattered in all directions. Here a bone of a hand, there a bone of the foot, a shin, a thigh bone, a pelvis, spine, and skull scattered all over, not together. So he just observed that and contemplates that his body is also having the same nature, and not his body. My body is also having the same nature. And another stage is a monk sees a body thrown in the charnel ground, reduced to bleached bones of sponge-like color. So it's completely reduced to bleached bones. Now, bleached bones means bones are not really clean. I mean, they are started to rotten. They have started to decay. Even the bones have started to decay. The flesh has gone, the blood has gone. Now the bones were very clean in the first one. Now it is getting decaying as well. And then the next stage is a monk sees a body thrown in the charnel ground, reduced to bones more than a year old, lying in a heap. Now it is not scattered, it doesn't have the color. Now everything is together, and we can't identify which one it is. So the last one, he says, as if a monk sees a body thrown in the charnel ground, reduced to bones, gone rotten, and become dust. So the bone is there. You can see the bone has turned into dust. That mark is there, but it is no longer a bone. After over 1 year, it is dust. And then applies this perception to his own body thus. Verily, also my own body is the same nature, such it will become and will not escape it. So in that manner, he brings his attention to the body by comparing the skeleton or the charnel ground body with the own body. So these are contemplations. And from these contemplations, you will be able to, of course, bring your attention to the body. But it is slightly different to being aware of the body. In the case of, we don't use these contemplation techniques. The reason why we don't use contemplation techniques is because, number one, it is not a direct experience. Since it is not a direct experience, one may initially, if someone is coming to Buddhism, if someone is coming to us and ask for a technique, if we give them, if his or her mind is not strong enough to see this in the right perspective, he or she will say, these monks are mad. And they are always talking about repulsiveness of the body. They are talking about the dead body. And what the heck? We have such a beautiful world. And why should we talk about these things all the time? So it will not be received by the people well. So not just because that we want to increase the number of the people or fool people, but it may be a bit too strong at the beginning. And another thing is, if you continue doing the contemplation technique, those contemplation techniques are very, they are having side effects. The side effects is, you are contemplating these negativities. So when you contemplate these negativities, we don't know whether you will really understand the nature of the body, or you will start hating your own body. We don't know how the mind will take it. So therefore, it is safer for us to go to uh, a technique which does not have so much of what do you call side effects, so much of uh, reactions, unseen reactions in the mind. Therefore, I know there are some people who are doing these techniques, and they at least don't like to talk about any other technique. They are so engrossed with it, and they are not open-minded, and they think they are doing such an advanced thing. No, it is not at all an advanced thing. It is a technique. It is a technique that the Blessed One has recommended, but it has side effects. It has after effects, because of unless you don't know these after effects, it is not recommended to use. And I heard that these type of things are happening in that part of the world, unfortunately. So there are some people, and this is why, someone who came the other day and she was telling me that. So when I realized what is happening. And not that the attention is not coming to the body. And these are very, very strong techniques. And if you use these techniques, there are conditions in which that you will have to do it. I have done these techniques when I initially started, and I immediately realized how heavy they are. I have done both these techniques from a book written by Rerukani Chandavimala, a famous monk in Sri Lanka. He was there in Sri Lanka, a former monk, and they were immediately giving results. They were immediately taking attention to the body. And then when the attention comes to the body, body is a universe. There are so many things happening in the universe. And those things you start experiencing. So when you experience those things, if you are not strong enough, and if you don't have a teacher at your disposal, and if you are not living the life to face such things, then these techniques are not suitable, especially for lay people. Because lay people don't have immediate access to a teacher who is doing that practice. And lay people...
Pante's just dropped the wait for him to reconnect.
I'm sorry, I lost you for some time. Anyway, so what I was telling you is that these are very strong techniques. So therefore, we have got to be very careful in picking up those techniques. And there are conditions under which you will have to use it. Whereas awareness is concerned, observation is concerned, it's a pretty cool thing. And it's the direct advice of the Buddha. And even when you do these things, at the very beginning of 4 foundations of mindfulness, what the Blessed One said was, okay, you can do any damn thing you want. You can go to the charnel ground and you can contemplate. You can take the foulness of the body, you can contemplate. But keep the mindfulness to the fore. If you keep the mindfulness to the fore, no matter what part of the universe is getting activated within your body, you start simply observing that and throw away your foulness, throw away your charnel ground contemplation, and observe that thing what is happening. So therefore, what we do is, without going into this strong techniques which require special conditions to practice, we don't take those things. We take the day-to-day living, and through the day-to-day living, we can introduce awareness from where we are. It is not necessary to lock yourself in a room and then contemplate the foulness. Not necessary to go to charnel ground. You can be aware while eating. You can be aware while taking a shower. You can be aware while watching TV. You can be aware while urinating and defecating. You can be aware while walking. So from the day-to-day activities we do, we bring our attention to the body, and it works so well because it gradually takes you to the body. Whereas these techniques directly take you to the deep layers of the body and the mind, and you may get a lot of shocks. So therefore, these are techniques, and if you have the right conditions, right atmosphere, then yes, you can practice. But very, very, very important that you should have an access to a teacher 24/7. Then no problem. Teacher will be able to guide you. But if someone is doing those things and coming to me, I will chase them away because there are much easier ways, much what do you call, rather than saying easier, practical ways, pragmatic ways to attend to these things. Because as I said, although these are strong, any strong medication will have a side effect. So we are taking an approach where there are no side effects at all. And even if there is, which we can easily rectify. Since when you take your attention to the body, there are lots and lots of things that may arise due to the unknown defilements that we have in our physical and mental systems. So hope this talk has broadened your understanding about the attention to the body, and may this help and encourage you to further practice keeping the mindfulness to the fore and having attention to the day-to-day activities and walking and sitting practice as you do already. Blessings of the Triple Gem to all of you. Everyone,
Saranai.
right. So do we have any questions?
Yes, Bhante. Oh, sir, Bhante.
Everyone, Saranai.
Bhante, it's Kusal here.
Yeah.
It's a report. It's been a while since I gave you a report, so thought of giving you a report.
Yeah.
Walking meditation. Yeah, I do walking meditation as usual. I know that I'm walking. Thoughts come and go. I can put my attention to any like maybe the soul, the sensations or the movements or the heat and coldness of the feet. So I have thoughts come and go, but less proliferation, just come and go. I notice that thoughts are coming and going. Not very detailed in walking. The details are not too much in detail, but I know I'm walking and I'm just walking. And sitting meditation, yeah, I can, I start sitting meditation, I can very well anchor my mindfulness in breathing, and it's similar to walking, not like very detailed, but well anchored. It's just a perception of breathing in and out, and I can keep my mindfulness anchored into that perception of breathing, and I clearly see things are coming and going, thoughts, sounds, sensations like coming and going. And as I told you last time, there's this knowledge at the backdrop that things are coming and going. So I'm just anchored the mindfulness, and things are coming and going, and today, specifically today, I noticed this. I noticed that my body is very hollow, like a balloon, very hollow. And just after that, I noticed that that is also a perception, and that also faded away. Then mindfulness jumped into heat of the body, like became very prominent. And even though I mentioned it's heat of the body, it's just heat. There was no perception of the body; it was just heat. And I would say mindfulness was not 100% on heat. I could clearly see heat, but same time I noticed mindfulness is not very sharp. Like there are some distractions, and I could see the heat is very, like, intensity of the heat is varying as well. And so that's how the sitting went, and day-to-day activities.
Can I disturb you, Sal? I'm very sorry. I lost you from the sensation point.
Sensor sharp. So I think it's the very beginning actually. So
Yeah.
so my mindfulness stays anchored. So my mindfulness stayed anchored in the breath, and it's not very detailed breath. It's just a perception of breath coming and going, and mindfulness is clearly anchored, and I can see things are coming and going. And as I told you previously, this knowledge is at the backdrop that things are coming and going, and thoughts, sounds, sometimes sensations, they're just coming and going. And sometimes thoughts get solidified, and I clearly notice these thoughts are getting solidified because I put more attention now. I give more value to them. Otherwise, they just go away. And today specifically, I noticed this body as a very hollow kind of thing, like a balloon, like nothing inside, it's just hollow. And straight after that, I noticed that is also a perception, and it just faded away. Then what was prominent, it was heat that was prominent, that it's just heat, like just heat, no perception of the body, just heat. And I could see the heat, the intensity of heat is going, like it's varying. And at the same time, I noticed mindfulness is not very sharp, because though this mindfulness is on heat, but I would say it's not very pure, because I have observed this previously, very clean, like very intense mindfulness was there previously, but this time it was not that very clean, because thoughts coming and going. But I was mindful like throughout the like almost like throughout the sitting. Then day-to-day activities, I would say like not 100%, but it's like, yeah, I'm happy about mindfulness. Like when I walk, when I move, when I turn, when I make a cup of tea, so naturally mindfulness goes to these touches and warmth when I like most of the times when I go to the like brushing teeth, like using the bathroom, taking showers. So mindfulness mostly in the body or the movements or the whatever I'm doing. And if it is like going away with thoughts, I like after 2-3 layers, I just straight away realize, oh, I'm thinking of something, and straight away mindfulness naturally comes to the body. So that's the day-to-day life, how it goes. Thank you, Bant.
Right. Thank you. And do you have any questions from the report that you just gave?
No, Bhante.
Yeah, so if there are no questions, so that's very good, because when you keep on observing, you are allowing the evolution to happen, the changes to happen, and you are not questioning anything. So the questioning is where you have the defilements. Questioning is where you will have the doubts. You will lose your faith. Now, then only you will have to bring additional energy, additional virya to bring the mindfulness to the forefront. But in your case, it is not so. You are allowing any changes to happen. So, which means gradually you are getting used to the changing nature. You are getting used to not me nature. So that is a change in the mind. That is a change in the attitude. So just keep practicing and keep your attention, no matter what happens, to the body as much as possible. Even when you feel something mentally, observe that thing and then immediately see how it affects your body. So when you keep on practicing in this manner, to whatever state that you go, keep reminding yourself that you are in that observe. Be mindful of that. Then, since there are no questions, it is very easy and smooth to progress. But bear in mind, you don't get bogged down at any stage, which you did not mention, but I'm just cautioning you. So keep it up.
Thank you, Bhante. Thank you very much for your advices. Theruvan Saranai.
Any other reports?
Theruvan Saranai, I have a question.
Yeah.
So it's been a week or two, and my mind almost have no interest in naming some feelings and also sensations like hatred, shame, anger. Is just like not interested in naming them. It's just I feel it's just I see it as just a happening. Uh, but because sometimes it's too much, but still I just see them as just they are without naming them. Uh, I want to know because of the intensity of them. Sometimes I want to know if there is a time when I need to pay attention to them, or it's better to just continue, don't care, and keep on continuing the life and whatever I do.
Did you name earlier?
Can you repeat? I didn't understand.
Did you name them earlier in the past?
Yes.
Yeah.
In my
So
report or in my day-to-day activity?
in your day-to-day activities, you have labeled them, and when
Yeah.
you label them, because they were things that affected you, because you knew that they are there and that they are yours, right? But now you have done it so much, and now your mind is gradually realizing the mind is having only this garbage. Mind means this garbage, nothing but garbage. And when you see that a garbage truck, garbage bin, you are not going to call it myself. So therefore, you are not going to label them. Something which is not mine, why the hell I should label? Is the suggestion of the mind. And that is the right suggestion. Because you don't identify yourself with them anymore. So therefore, why should I go and say father to a child who is not mine? So therefore, if you can just go on with the things that you are usually doing, without being affected by them, don't give any value to them. You label them because you give them a value. Initially, we give them a value because they are affecting us so much and we label them. When you keep on labeling them, what we do is we don't proliferate on them. We don't build a dream house on them. And then the foundation starts cracking and they just keep vanishing. But after doing it for some time, you realize that these things are always coming up, always coming up. Now you have the ability even to ignore them, not intentionally. You naturally don't take them on board. So if you have that, good. No need to poke your fingers in those things at all. But if they bother them at some point, don't get angry. You just quietly label them because they may have a strong sentiments still buried in our mental system. So if they come and if you feel that they are bothering, that they are trying to hurt you, burn you, then gradually with a smile you label them. Make sense?
Yes, completely. Theruvan Saranai.
Everyone Saranai. Everyone Saranai. All right. Are we having any questions or can we wind up chanting the Anumodana, transfer of merits?
We can finish, I think.
Yes, Chatu, can I kindly request to chant the traditional stanzas, because even today we had a practice session and discuss about mindfulness, especially the foulness of the body and the contemplation techniques. And then we have gathered a lot of momentum and the positive energies with that. We will share these positive energies with the rest of the beings in the universe who are able to very willingly receive these things. Over to you, Chatuputa.
May all donors share the spirit which we have thus accumulated for the acquisition of all kinds of happiness and prosperity. May all other beings share this spirit which we have thus accumulated for the acquisition of all kinds of happiness and prosperity. May all the beings share this spirit which we have thus accumulated for the acquisition of all kinds of happiness and prosperity. May all beings inhabiting space and earth, devas and nagas of mighty power, having shared this spirit, long protect the dispensation. May all beings inhabiting space and earth, devas and nagas of mighty power, having shared this merit, long protect the teaching. May all beings inhabiting space and earth, devas and nagas of mighty power, having shared this merit, long protect me and others. If by deed, speech, or thought, heedlessly I have done any wrong, forgive, O Master, O Victor, greatly wise. If by deed, speech, or thought, heedlessly I have done any wrong, forgive, O Dhamma, to be seen here and now, timeless. If by deed, speech, or thought, heedlessly I have done any wrong, forgive, O Sangha, practice well, the incomparable. Let the spirit agree to our departed relatives, and may they be happy. Let the spirit agree to our departed relatives, and may they be happy. Let the spirit agree to our departed relatives, and may they be happy. By the grace of the spirit that I have acquired, may I never follow the foolish, but only the wise, up to the time I attain Nibbana. By the grace of the spirit that I have acquired, may I never follow the foolish, but only the wise, up to the time I attain Nibbana. By the grace of the spirit that I have acquired, may I never follow the foolish, but only the wise, up to the time I attain Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu,
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Everyone, Sarna, everybody. Steve, you don't look very